No, look, Jonsbo released another compact PC case that's well built, genuinely clever, and actually performs really well, and normally that'd be a pretty easy video to make, but right now with PC hardware prices climbing, AI data centers eating up supply, and regular enthusiasts getting priced out of the hobby, I gotta be honest, I'm not sure how many people even care about another PC case review anymore. So yes, this is a review of the Jonsbo D33, but it's also probably gonna be the last Elevated Systems video for a while.
It's the money.
Now, right off the bat, I don't want this video to come across like I'm being negative, because that wouldn't be fair to Jonsbo, and it definitely wouldn't be fair to the D33, because this is a really nice PC case. In fact, to kind of spoil the review a little, I liked the case enough that I went out and bought a new micro ATX motherboard so I could shrink down my massive primary gaming PC and rebuild it inside the Jonsbo D33. And honestly, that felt good. It let me scratch the PC building itch I haven't really been able to scratch for a while, because right now being a PC enthusiast kinda sucks. Core components like RAM, storage, and graphics cards have gotten stupidly expensive. Availability is still a mess, and the ripple effect is hitting every part of the hobby. People are not buying new cases if they can't afford the components to put inside of them. They're not building new systems if memory and storage prices are ridiculous. And they're not upgrading GPUs when the GPU market is still really painful. And they're not watching as many reviews for the hardware they already know they probably can't justify buying. And yeah, that hits this channel directly. I've spent the last 8 years building Elevated Systems. I've poured a stupid amount of time, money, work, and energy into the channel. I've bought hardware, built systems, tested products, torn things apart, rebuilt them, benchmarked them, filmed it, edited it, and tried to give people useful, honest reviews without turning the channel into a sponsored sales pitch. And now, because the entire PC hardware market is being warped by AI data center demand, inflated component prices, and companies chasing the highest paying customers, the kind of content this channel was built on just isn't working anymore. And yeah, that pisses me off. Not in some abstract, the market is changing kind of way. It pisses me off because I've spent 8 years building this channel around a hobby I actually cared about, and now that hobby is being priced out from under the people who made it matter in the first place. And I know corporations are gonna do corporation things. Their priority is to make as much money as possible for themselves and their shareholders. That's all it's ever was. They never actually cared about you or me or gamers or enthusiasts or hobbyists. They only cared about our money. They were happy to wrap themselves up in community branding and act like they were building this space for all of us as long as we were their best source of revenue. But now a bigger pile of money showed up. AI companies, enterprise buyers, and data centers are willing to pay more, and so that's where the supply goes. And that's who matters now. And the rest of us are basically being told loud and clear, get fucked. Pay the inflated prices or walk away. Wait in line and be grateful there's anything left for you at all. Watch the hobby get more expensive, less accessible, and less fun, while the companies that built billion-dollar brands on the back of PC enthusiasts pretend this is all just normal market behavior. And let's be honest, it is normal market behavior, but it's still bullshit. And I'm not interested in turning Elevated Systems into a channel where I just sit here yelling about capitalist companies being capitalists 3 times a week. There are plenty of other channels already doing that, and honestly, I don't want to spend my time that way. So for now, this channel is one more casualty in the long chain of AI ripple effect. That sucks to say out loud, but I'm not disappearing. I still have the Elevated Makerspace channel where I cover 3D printers, maker tools, and fabrication gear, and honestly, that space is moving in the opposite direction right now. The tools are getting more accessible, easier to use, and in a lot of cases cheaper. So if you can't afford PC gaming anymore, come on over to Elevated Makerspace and I'll teach you about tabletop gaming. And over on Lifting Linux, inspired by the World Cup, I'm about to start a Linux Gaming Distro Championship series. The bracket is all set, and we're going to find out which gaming-focused Linux distro comes out on top. Also, don't unsubscribe just yet, because I will be announcing a few big sales and giveaways for a lot of the PC hardware and peripherals I've accumulated over the past several years, including a couple of my framework laptops. But that's the channel update. So for what may be my final elevated systems review for a while, let's take a look at the Jonsbo D33. And we'll start with the specs and features. The Jonsbo D33 is a compact micro ATX case that measures 455 millimeters deep, 238 millimeters wide, and 368 millimeters tall. It supports mini ITX and micro ATX motherboards, including rear connect boards, which is a nice inclusion if you're building one of the newer cable hidden motherboard layouts. For component clearance, the D33 can fit graphics cards up to 435 millimeters long and tower air coolers up to 172 millimeters tall. So even though this is a compact case, you're not immediately boxed into tiny components. In its default configuration, the case supports ATX power supplies up to 160 millimeters long, but Jonsbo also includes an SFX adapter, so you can reconfigure the case for an SFX power supply if you want a little more space to work with, especially up front. Out of the box, the D33 does not come with any pre-installed fans, but it can support up to 9 total. With an ATX power supply installed, you can mount 2 120 millimeter fans at the front. If you switch to an SFX power supply, that front support changes to being able to support 2 140 millimeter fans. The removable top bracket supports 3 120 millimeter fans. The bottom of the case supports another 3 120 millimeter fans, and there's room for a single 120 millimeter fan at the rear. For liquid cooling, the D33 supports a top-mounted AIO up to 360 millimeters. Behind the motherboard tray, there's a removable drive panel that can hold 2 3.5-inch hard drives or 2 2.5-inch SSDs. The front I/O is located at the bottom front of the case, and it's pretty standard: a reset button, a headset jack, the power button, 2 5 gigabit USB Type-A ports, and a front panel USB-C port. The black and wood version I'm reviewing has an MSRP of about $98 US. Now, one of the strongest parts of the D33 is the build quality and overall design. The case is constructed from 1mm SECC steel, and the matte black powder coat on this version is really clean. It feels solid, it looks good, and it doesn't have that thin, cheap budget case feel. The left side panel is tempered glass, and the right side panel is steel with a mesh section that allows airflow to the power supply. Both panels are toolless and are secured with ball stud fasteners, and Jonsbo even includes extra fastening clips in the accessory box just in case one breaks. The front panel uses the now common wood slat design over a steel mesh intake, and it's held on with magnets, so it's really easy to remove. The top of the case is handled a little differently. The top mesh panel itself is not removable. Instead, there's a removable bracket held in place with just 4 screws. That bracket lets you install up to 3 fans, and those fans can sit above the main internal chamber so they don't take away from your component clearance inside the case. If you're using a liquid cooler, you can install a 240 or 360 millimeter radiator up top. The interesting part is how the radiator setup installs. The radiator mounts above the bracket and the fans mount below it, and the bracket sits in the middle. Jonsbo also designed gaps in the bracket so the pump block and tubes can pass through cleanly. It's a smart use of space and makes a lot of sense in a compact case like this. The D33 takes the same general layout idea of the D32, but Jonsbo made several meaningful changes. First, they softened the design by rounding the 4 long edges of the case while leaving the front and rear edges more angular, so it still has that clean Jonsbo look, but it feels a little less boxy than the D32. The power supply still mounts up front, but on the D33, Jonsbo rotated it 90 degrees and moved it over to the right side of the case. Now that opens up space at the front for intakes fans, so you can get the more normal front to back airflow path while still leaving the entire bottom of the case open for graphics card cooling. And overall, the D33 is a solid case that's pretty easy to build in, especially for something this compact. Now, if you're using a micro ATX motherboard, you will need to install the bottom center standoff in the correct position for your specific board. That standoff is included in the hardware bag. Starting with my standard test system, I really didn't run into any major problems or surprises. My micro ATX board fit great. There are plenty of cable pass-throughs above and in front of the motherboard, although the bottom pass-throughs are a little tight. So be careful not to catch any of the motherboard headers when pushing cables under the board, especially larger cables like PCIe power. You can also make that easier on yourself by routing those bottom cables before installing the motherboard. My 165mm tower air cooler had plenty of clearance. My 140mm long ATX power supply fit with plenty of room to spare, and even with front fans installed, my 331mm graphics card still had plenty of space. That card is also a 2 3/4 slot card, and despite my motherboard placing the PCIe slot in the second position down, it still fit. Now, as I've explained in previous reviews, standard 25mm fans could technically fit under the graphics card, but there's not enough space for them to be effective at all. But as we'll see in the performance testing, the card didn't have any cooling issues in this case. The D33 also has a built-in GPU support bracket, and it worked great for my build, but it is in a fixed position, so if it happens to line up with one of your graphics card's fans, that's not going to be ideal. The second system I built in the D33 was a little different, mainly because it uses a 360mm AIO. That also installed without any real trouble. I mounted it to the removable bracket with the radiator above the bracket and the fans below it, and this is exactly why I like removable brackets for AIO installation. I was able to get the fans installed, get the cables cleaned up, and tie everything down before dropping the whole assembly into the case. Once it was installed, there was still plenty of clearance at the top, so I didn't run into RAM height issues. I was even able to plug in the CPU power cable with the AIO already installed, which is not always a given in a compact case. Now, the new Gigabyte Micro ATX board also places the first PCIe by 16 slot in the top position, which I needed because my graphics card is a full triple slot card, and that gives the card a good amount of open space below it for airflow. The card is also 141mm tall, and because of the depth of the case, there was still plenty of room for the 12-volt high power PCIe cable without having to worry about it being pressed into the side panel. Cable management was also easier than it looked like it should be. There are no built-in straps and not a ton of tie-down points, but there's a massive amount of space behind the motherboard tray and below the power supply. So with just a few zip ties, I had the cables cleaned up in about 5 minutes on both of the systems. For a compact micro ATX case, that's a pretty painless build experience. Now, let's look at thermal performance. For my standard test system, I installed 3 in-win 120mm fans, 2 front intake fans, and 1 rear exhaust fan, so basically a classic front-to-back airflow setup. For testing, I ran 3 20-minute gaming sessions, first on an open-air test bench, and then again with the same components inside the Jonsbo D33. That gives me a direct comparison between open-air performance and the same hardware running inside the case. And the D33 did really well, starting with the CPU peak temperature stayed exactly the same inside the case as it did on the open air test bench at 55 degrees Celsius above ambient. That's an excellent result because it means the case itself is not adding any meaningful restrictions to the CPU cooling in this configuration. VRM temperatures were just as good even without any tap fans installed. The VRMs held at 22 degrees Celsius above ambient, both inside and outside the case. Again, that's a really good result, especially in a compact case with no dedicated top exhaust. The GPU temperature only increased by about 2 degrees compared to open air, which is also a strong result, and that is a big deal because looking back at my D32 review, one of the biggest issues I found was that despite all the mesh, thermal performance just was not great. The D33 seems to have solved that problem. With this fan setup, it's easily one of the better performing compact cases I've reviewed recently. I could probably also improve VRM temperatures even more by installing a single top exhaust fan over the VRM heatsink, and that does matter. As a general rule of thumb, every 10 degrees Celsius drop in VRM temperature can roughly double the lifespan of the components in that power delivery area. So even if the VRMs are already running at safe temperatures, pulling a few more degrees out of them is still a good thing. It reduces long-term stress on the motherboard, and in a modern PC, the motherboard is one of the components I'm most concerned about aging out or failing before the rest of the system. That top exhaust fan would also help balance the airflow a little better and may help the GPU pull in more fresh air from the bottom of the case. Now, I've not had a chance to fully test my permanent system in this case yet. I still need to do some power and fan curve optimization in UFEI, and I also need to track down a bad ARGB cable connection. That's just why it's not on right now. The RGB fans are just going haywire, but I don't expect it to match the temperatures of the massive thermal take case this system came out of. That case is much larger and has a lot more internal volume, but given how well the D33 performed compared to open air, I'm confident I'm not going to run into thermal issues, even after significantly shrinking the overall volume of the PC. So that brings us back to where this video started. Right now, I know most people are probably not shopping for new PC cases, and not because cases suddenly stop being interesting, and not because good design doesn't matter anymore. It's just hard to justifying a new enclosure when the parts you would normally put inside it, RAM, storage, graphics cards, and basically every core component have become so expensive. And that's frustrating because cases like the Jonsbo D33 are exactly the kind of product I would normally be excited to cover. It's compact, it's well built, it looks good, it supports serious hardware, and most importantly, it performs really well. And this is not a case I just liked in theory. I liked it enough to actually move my own primary gaming PC into it. And that's probably the best recommendation I can give. If you're building a new micro ATX system from scratch, well, the D33 is absolutely worth considering. It gives you a compact footprint without forcing you into tiny hardware. The cooling performance is excellent, and the build experience is a lot easier than I expected for a case this size. But realistically, I know a lot of people are not building new systems right now. So the stronger recommendation may be actually for the kind of rebuild I did here. If you already have a system that feels too big, too dated, too loud, too warm, or just needs to feel fresh again, well, the D33 makes a lot of sense. It's a very solid option for shrinking down an existing PC, cleaning up a build, improving airflow, and making the system feel new without replacing every expensive component inside of it. It takes what I liked about the D32, fixes the biggest thermal issue I had with that case, improved the airflow layout, keeps the build process relatively painless, and wraps it all in a design that feels more polished without getting flashy or ridiculous. So yes, the timing for this review is weird. The PC hardware market is in a rough place, and this channel is in a rough place. And for now, Elevated System is going quiet, not forever, at least not intentionally, but for now. I've spent 8 years building this channel, and if you've watched and subscribed, commented, shared a video, challenged one of my conclusions, or just used one of these reviews to help in your buying decision, then I genuinely thank you. That really mattered. And I'm not disappearing, though. You can still find me on Elevated Makerspace, where I'm covering 3D printers, fabrication tools, and the kind of maker gear that's becoming more useful and more accessible every year. And you can also find me over on Lifting Linux, where I'm focused on Linux hardware, Linux gaming, and the upcoming Gaming Distro Championship series. Those channels are smaller, more focused, and honestly, a little more personal. So this isn't goodbye, it's just farewell for now from Elevated Systems, and hopefully I'll see you over on one of the other channels.